Ready to experience the next generation of precision agriculture? Discover innovative ways to save on labor, cut chemical use, and boost your yields. Visit Eco-Robotics at the World Ag Expo, February 11th through 13th. A World Ag Expo 2025 Top 10 Products winner, Eco-Robotics is transforming agriculture with the ARA Ultra High Precision Sprayer. Powered by advanced AI, ARA's plant-by-plant technology targets individual plants with incredible accuracy, slashing chemical use by up to 95% and maximizing productivity. Come meet the team, see the ARA sprayer up close, and learn how Eco-Robotics can help you save time and money while increasing your yields. The future of farming is here. Don't miss it. Visit booth S54 at the World Ag Expo or learn more at ecorobotics.com/top10. That's ECOROBOTIX.com/top10.
Stories behind the ag brands we love and the ag brands we love to hate. What color is your tractor? With Chrissy Wozniak.
Hi, I'm Chrissy Wozniak, and welcome to What Color is Your Tractor? Today, we're diving into the future of agriculture with a company that's leading the charge in robotics and innovative farming practices. Based in Watsonville, California, FarmNG is revolutionizing specialty crop farming with configurable general-purpose robots designed to promote innovation and best practices in the industry. And what strikes me the most about this company is that it's not an island. It's not a brand in its own on its own in the traditional sense. It's designed for collaboration and to serve other companies. And there's something just so cool about that to me. I've been following FarmNG for a few years now. And a couple weeks ago, I was in Georgia at the Southeast Fruit Veg Conference, and I got to hear, I knew Nathan already, but I got to hear him speak about the story of FarmNG, and I was really intrigued. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. From Hopland, California, I would like to welcome Nathan Dorn, Director, Agricultural Business Development at FarmNG. Thank you so much, Nathan, for joining me today.
Thank you, Chrissy. It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here, and great to be a part of a cool podcast like yours. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see you in Georgia, and to be able to tell our story and get it out to people. It is kind of unique in the idea that what you just mentioned, that we're not just a brand that's trying to get our place in a lot of farms and stuff. We're actually a series of solutions, of pieces of the puzzle, as pretty much everybody is, but they don't call it out. We're a piece of the puzzle, and we think that others are going to help us get solve problems for farmers, for real people that are farming and doing the job every day.
Yeah, that's really cool. So can you start by giving us some background on yourself and then an overview of your role at FarmNG?
Yeah, first off, I'm not the founder, but I'm one of the first employees. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, and like all kids on farms, you see the good and the bad. And at some point, I decided that farming was not a great future for everybody in the family. So maybe some of us are going to have to go off and do our own thing. I couldn't swim, so I joined the Navy, and they did not teach me how to swim, so I joined the submarine fleet. And then I got to become a nuclear mechanic on submarines. It was really exciting and quite a life to live, going from the Midwest to being on a submarine somewhere under the ocean in Pacific Ocean or wherever. And to be in a pool of talented people that all had creative minds of their own, and be challenged every day. So after that, though, I left and went to Detroit to become an engineer, and got drawn back into food with PepsiCo and then eventually Gallo. And Gallo drew me back into the agricultural side. And I started working in vineyards, and eventually was pulled by one of my former bosses to work with Ryder Berry Farms, which is a great berry farming company that supplies Driscoll's. And we worked on labor issues and mechanization and finding ways to make the workforce have an easier job and be more sustainable in the future because most of them are aging out, or it's harder to find berry pickers in all parts of the world, or we're growing more and more so that we can meet the demand of consumers. So from in that role, I got to see a lot of challenge, or in those roles, I got to see a lot of challenges beyond just Midwest farming and a lot of opportunities for solutions. And so one day I met up with Ethan Rubley and trying to bring other companies together, and saw that he had built this configurable machine that does so many things for small farmers. And I said I could find a home for that. And he was so gracious to bring me on the team itself at that time. So FarmNG though started out as an idea with pretty much between Gary Bradsky and Ethan Rubley. And in 2022, they formed FarmNG and SpaceNG at the same time. And Gary Bradsky is the founder of OpenCV, and Ethan has founded a couple companies that have since sold to Google or sold to other companies, and recently left FarmNG to focus on SpaceNG. SpaceNG was spun out of FarmNG and now has been a part of the most recent last week's Firefly launch, which would have been the second week of January launch of Firefly mission to land on the moon. And our company is responsible, or SpaceNG is responsible for the modules navigation to land on the moon. For the
Wow,
first year or
that
two,
is so
yeah,
cool.
it's so cool. Yeah. Please watch out. I think it'll be in March or so that we may have one of the first autonomous landing missions, not controlled crash, but a landing mission on the moon. And
Amazing.
that'll be some of the technology you find in FarmNG's Amiga that is helped to fund and build on that. So we've had some great team members, and that's the ideation that kind of went through what we build today at FarmNG. So
Yeah, that is really neat. So what was the initial vision and what were the early days like at Farm and G?
pretty much like every startup, the initial vision was we're going to revolutionize you. I think you used that word early on. I want to be a little more humble in saying we just want to have a little part in making somebody's day a little easier, and help them do something that is hard. And farming is hard. If you look at the skills that a farmer has, it's everything from HR manager to engineer or architect or animal, animal husbandry. Uh, there's all sorts of skills that we just don't even put a measure on. Um, Carrying heavy stuff, being precise in navigation, and those other things are things that we can help with and make a little bit easier. So the initial vision was right in the middle of COVID. We ran across a guy named Larry Jacobs from Jacobs Del Cabo, a great small food brand that has like 300 different sites in Mexico and US, where Larry has personally farmed and grew up this business. He said his challenge was is it's becoming harder and harder for his people to justify working at this job on the farm, and when they can get more money and work year round in restaurants or some other job that's less fulfilling. He says, I need ways to make the job easier so that the older team I have can stay because they're really valuable to me, and to make them more technical and make them be capable of contributions that are higher so I can justify more wages. So he was looking for personal assistance. He wanted to capitalize on the future of AI, and just taking the tasks that we use in our brain every day, which is that's a weed, that's a plant, save that, kill that. Those are kind of tasks that he's trying to help make more and more prominent and prevalent. So, and easier for us to do. So he reached out to us and funded our first $100,000 of machine orders. and really kicked off the company, and has since taken and purchased 10 of our platforms. And he says it makes a difference. They use them daily on his farming business, and um, it's by using them daily. I mean, it means that they're using it to assist getting the job done faster or easier. So he's got almost, I think, 8 different forms of the Amiga. So he's gotten to the point where he's got dedicated machines doing dedicated tasks again, but they're closer to the human scale.
Amazing. And so I know we're on audio, so it's hard I can't show pictures, but the Amiga, describe what it is, what it looks like, what it does, and I know it changes form. So explain
Yeah.
that as well. Mm.
First off, I encourage you to go to our website, farm-ng.com, and check out the images yourself. The second thing I would say is you can imagine it's 4 electric hub motor wheels, and they're connected by wiring and 1.5 square tube. They can be, typically we build it out of the box for about 4-foot spacing. It's those 4 wheels connected by 2 batteries and a power harness. And then we build a small CAN bus related communications harness so we can tell each of those wheels what to do. And then on top of that, we can add our own intelligence kit, which gets smarter and bigger every day. We use stereo vision cameras. We have an Ethernet switch. We have a GPS, and we put this open source processor on board so that you can write your own code, since we probably may not solve your problem right away. Like I can help you weed if you're a vegetable farmer, but I couldn't pick a blueberry off of a bush today, which I don't think that in my business startup in the next couple 5-10 years I'm going to build a blueberry picking robot. But if you wanted to build one, we're here to help you get at least part of the way through. We can help you with navigation, machine tool control, a place to program it, all sorts of pieces on that.
And
It carries about 1,000 pounds for 8 hours on those 2 batteries that are on board.
wow.
So yeah, I mean, it can basically drive around and do stuff, and you can swap those batteries out in like 90 seconds. So it's really cool that you can basically get work done, have an almost infinite life cycle of continuing to do work. You just put in a freshly set of charged batteries, and you can do things that are GPS based, vision based. You can manually navigate, which people underestimate the value of manual navigation. I mean, like, we drive tractors today with our hands and our eyes because it's faster and more convenient in getting the unique job done that we have. To take that away from a user and say it's going to be all robot, or you have to have a network and iPad and stuff to operate it, is a miss. Being able to drive it is a real benefit to everybody, whether it comes to loading it onto a truck or getting it out of a hole, or separating it from the telephone pole that it ran into. All those things are real, and they're real things in farming. I mean, I've seen, and maybe I admit erroneously, that I've wrapped my tractor around a guy wire once or twice for a telephone pole, but I mean, it's things you do, and farming is a unique situation everywhere. We think it's a controlled environment, but it's kind of a semi-structured environment to operate in.
yeah, definitely. That's such a good point too, because there I know especially in the early days of autonomous vehicles, tractors, they would go out to the farm. They work on these and, in Silicon Valley, they get them all ready to go and they take them out to the farm and then there's no internet. And then they're like, how are we going to run this thing? So I know I've talked to a lot of innovators that started out like that. So I think it's pretty neat because that's one thing that a producer thinks about is like, well, how am I going to power it? How complicated is this? But you can actually it's like a joystick, right? How it's
Yeah,
controlled.
yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
let's be as basic as we can. I mean, it
Mm,
is you just grab the joystick, and you want to go forward, you push forward. You want to go left, you push left. I mean, it's not that that's the most exciting thing about the machine by any means, But
Yeah.
the most exciting thing is you're getting the job done. And we're not going to stop that on our way to innovating to that AI robot that you want to have do it for you. I mean, often people, I don't like the word autonomy because people imagine that the word autonomy pretty much means I'm going to think about what I want to do tomorrow. And when I wake up, that robot is going to get out of the barn, go do that for me, and then come back to the barn when it's done. And I'm going to be able to, like, go do what I was planning to do in town, watch my kids' soccer game or other stuff. It's still farming. And the machine can only do so much. It can drive down a row, it can do turns at the end of the row, it can turn on and off tools, but mixing a tank of chemistry, making sure that chemical gets filled in and actually parked right underneath the spout, or all those things that you do. um, I'm not proposing to replace those with some autonomy yet. I'm hoping to add to your skill sets, and someday down the road, somebody will make a machine that wakes up in the morning and goes and does what you had in mind last night. Uh, it's just not there
I
yet
love
for
that.
us.
Yeah, yeah, and it just makes me think for 10 years, I've had a Roomba all, progressively, and yeah, they're amazing. Yeah, I don't wanna live without it. But this stupid thing gets in trouble all the time, and it just every time it gets in trouble, I think, "Oh my gosh, if this was on a farm, what trouble would it be?" So, yeah, I think we're still pretty far away from that, but we're getting closer, and the innovation that's coming out is just so incredible. But I like your niche of robotics and collaboration. I just think that is so cool. Do you have some cool examples of innovation where it's in use, and what is it doing?
Yeah, so I mean, we have some people doing some things that are hard. We'll start with the hard things. That we've got the things like compost spreading, and that's a manual task today. But we put a compost spreader on board, and that allows a market farmer who's growing a farm that's too small to use large scale tractors or equipment, and has too many rotations too fast to, like, just interrupt and bring things in. So a small machine that can spread a thin layer of compost and not scatter it everywhere like a manure spreader is of value to them. And what we found was um, doing it their alternative way with wheelbarrows and rakes takes hours. I mean, it takes up about 24 man hours to do this 1 acre market farmer's 7 beds every year, every month that she has to do it. And with our Amiga, she's able to do it all in 1 man hour. So that's 23 man hours that she doesn't have to hire for, and gets to choose to do the compost spreading much easier than what she would have otherwise. So that's a basic task. More sophisticated tasks are using, like, our GPS and our computer and our vision system to seed a particular row, and then later on coming back and using that same map track that you've mapped with a different tool on board to weed that row, and
Oh, wow.
then using that same track that you mapped to follow for a sprayer, and then using that same track you mapped to carry your harvest aid through that field. So we're doing some of that. I mean, and for me at home, like, I even take my Amiga out and I program it to do a little loop through the sheep pasture, carrying a bale of hay. Why does it carry that bale of hay? It's because the sheep will follow that bale of hay. And then when it comes time for me to have to vaccinate and shear and do that work, I actually just send the Amiga out, and the sheep are going to follow it all the way back into the pen. I've used that as my training
Wow.
vehicle where I don't have to be that guy who does that every day. You can do that for 10 days in a row, and you've suddenly got an easier job in moving your sheep. So it's not it. I want to say, like, we don't know how to solve all the problems on the farm today. We just know that you've got a lot of crazy things that you do every day. They're not always easy. They take your time, your effort, and we need to learn from farmers to be able to find those problems that we can solve at scale, or we can build you the tools that you can go out and solve to make your world easier.
Yeah, that's really cool. And another point that I think is interesting about your company is often growers, specialty crop growers, farm market growers, um, I think they think they're being left behind, and there aren't these tools. And as we know, labor is a huge issue, and I think you really solve a problem of labor. And you're not leaving growers behind. There are options for smaller farms to help them get more done because at the end of the day, they need to become more profitable or else they have to get jobs off farm a lot of times. Right? So is that what
Yeah.
you're seeing too?
Yeah. So, I mean, the the neat thing about larger scale farming is you can go faster and get percentage efficiency. You can go wider and get percentage efficiency. And I don't vilify bigger farmers for building better economies of scale like some companies do. I get it. But what's really hard is taking what you do as a single person and trying to amplify it to do more. And the specialty crop world is really full of those people who do something specific, whether it's cut a head of broccoli or pick a strawberry or put a fence post in the ground or move sheep or pick up rocks or pick berries or late pull weeds. There's so many things out there that where one person does it, it would be awesome to make that one person more effective. If you can make them twice as effective, it's actually like you reduce 50% of the headcount. And
Right.
of the larger labor community, like in ag, specialty crop represents a huge portion of those. So us to for our tool to be catered to making that one person more effective is really beneficial to ag. Um, what the challenge is for us is that farmers don't have a lot of time to help us create the solution together. And so I often hear like, wow, that's neat. What does it do?
Mhm.
And so that's where I get excited when we collaborate with students or with other entrepreneurs or with, you know, it could be just a high school student that is doing something. I hired a high school student a while back and I said, I've got gophers in my vineyard. I want to find out how to kill them. And he, at 15 years old, wrote an app that flew a drone over the top of my vineyard, identified gopher holes, and then stitched together a map and created a safe path for my Amiga to drive out to each of those gopher holes and know where they were on its own. And at 15 years old, he
No
created all
way.
that.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, the instruction was, I've got gophers. I need to kill them. That's it. I mean, the creativity is there. And if you give them the tools, like I think the Amiga is part of, I think that we can get people to solve our problems. And he was pretty jazzed. I mean, he likes creating stuff like that. We haven't killed any gophers yet.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, but we're going to get them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you don't just work with companies. That brings up a great point that you are working with research institutions, with students. So talk about that more.
Yeah, we've got first off, we do work with companies. So we'd like to say that as a platform, we are available for purchase, and we're not trying to take your technology. What we're trying to do is provide you mobility and a place to code and a place as many of the steps as you have along the way. So we're a launching point, and it might be for your prototype, it might be for your commercial version, it might be just for you to have a discussion point. So our platform starting at between 13,000 and going up to 50,000, like with all the components and pieces, and in cost, it's a great way to kick off your business going fast, quickly. And then as for students, we've partnered with UC Ag and Natural Resources um, for the third year to do a farm robotics challenge. Our first year, we had 11 schools and about 150 students from around the country that competed to build a robot for farmers. And the rules were pretty simple. They had to go out and meet a farmer and solve a problem. That was it. That was
Right.
the only rule we played out for them. And what came back was like 11 different ideas, everything from an artichoke counter by a junior college in Salinas to which I'm really proud of because that's what that farming company needed. And that farming company is a donor and has built buildings at that school. And so that was the one time that students that were kids of farmers, or one of the first times, kids of farmers went to college so that they can get away from farming, and then found a project that was in farming that brought the skills that they were bringing so that they could go work in Silicon Valley back. And we had students that actually were leaving farming to be computer scientists and robots, end up back helping their family members doing something significant. We've got University of Nebraska, Purdue, BYU, Carnegie Mellon, Cornell, North Carolina State, Texas A&M, Auburn, Olin College in Pennsylvania, schools from around the country that have built everything from weeding solutions to data collection and phenotyping so that you can build big AI decisions out of this. And all of them have done it because some farmer said, or somebody in agriculture said, I need this problem solved. And now we're really happy to say that that problem is being solved on the Amiga. We're a part of that solution.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the thought of a kid going and asking a farmer, "Oh, what do you need?" Right? And because that's what our industry is all about. We can innovate all day long, but if it isn't going to really make a difference on the farm, then it's useless, right? So it's cool
Yeah.
to teach kids right from the beginning. They got to go and see what the problem is first.
Yeah. So our team has evolved. We're now up to 30 people in our team. We're scattered somewhat around the country, around the world. We've got team members in Europe and we've got team members throughout the United States. We've got our CEO is the former CTO of NVIDIA. So we've got a team that is like a bunch of superstars that are looking for great problems to challenges to solve, but we are also obligated to make a profit. And as a company, so we can't solve all those problems ourselves because those end up in a series of rabbit holes. Having these challenges out there allows us to have a market footprint and be interesting to those people that also care about those problems, whether it's specialty crops and companies like Kubota or John Deere or others that they can now see like, oh, I have a big interest in, berries right now. What companies are doing things in berries, and hopefully the name FarmNG comes up over and over again as somebody that is meaningful in the solution set.
Yeah. So what does the future hold for FarmNG? And I want to say the sky's the limit, but you're already challenging that. So which is
Yeah.
so cool. So yeah. So tell me where are you guys going?
Um, well, I mean, you can imagine this Lego kit for farmers, and I use that term endearingly. It's the idea of continuing to create collaboration. I think that continues. We find ways to allow people to configure what we build into the problems that they have and bring in more of the basic tools and components that they need, whether it's today, we don't do steering. We'll do steering in the future. We do skid steer driving. We'll change that out with articulated steering. We'll carry more weight, obviously, in the future, and longer battery life, more AI on board, more platform tools. Autonomy is kind of a tough word because if you can imagine autonomy, like people have all sorts of visions, whether it's to follow me around the field, that means autonomy, or to know to go down every row, or to do, go from point A to point B, go back to home or something. Those are all forms of autonomy, or follow another machine. Those are all forms of autonomy that we hope to support and be able to build out tools for in the future. More sensors. There's always somebody that is doing something amazing on our platform that we have to stop everything to go and build out a new sensor driver, or we want to find ways for them to build more sensors for themselves. So, or deploy more sensors on our platform. So, and I'm hoping that you see the next generation of robotic startups that are like identify that their tool is on our machine. I came to FarmNG because when I was in the berry company, I signed a lot of letters for to support people for grants or venture capital, and it was always like somebody come to me and they'd say, I'll pick your strawberries with my robot if you sign this letter, and I'll go get venture capital money to do that. A year later, they'd come back and they'll have built a tractor. And all that time had passed, and that talent that that person had that I saw the reason to invest in, which is vision, haptics, where they know how to grab something, or path planning, or just the AI determining which berry is ripe. Those kind of things, I want to get them to get to market faster. And so I'm hoping you'll see more Amigas and different types of recognizable Farm and G underneath other people's creations.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Now, when I was a kid and in college, branding in agriculture was simple. You were either green, red, blue, and sometimes orange. Now it's a lot different. There are a lot more brands, and a lot of those colors are owned by the same people now. So it brings, there's still obviously very strong ties to memories and heritage with farm branding. And it might be, to me, it's some of the greatest stories of marketing are from agriculture. Now, these days, with so many startups coming up, so many of these brands that are, and especially with yours, with collaboration, how are you moving forward and branding so that, and you're doing a good job because I see the logo all over the place. People love it. And so how are you doing that? What kind of steps are you taking to make sure that your brand is recognized and growing market share too?
Well, this is a great opportunity to plug your podcast. Um, so getting on your podcast is one. Thank you. But also, I think collaboration really resounds. Last year at World Ag Expo, we had the Amiga Street, where we actually subleased for no money, for $1 a square foot, um, our booth to everybody who had been a part of building on us, and
Wow.
allowed them to show off. And really, it is about showing that we're a part of something bigger, and because we are, all of us are, whether we're working with a robotic spray company or a robotic strawberry picking company or a laser weeding company, we really want to show that we're a piece of their success as well. So we don't have too much of an ego, I don't think. I hope. We hope that we live and die by your success. If you don't do something to help a farmer or help a farming company, you really don't do anything yet. So it is about being out there. We do fail. We do have customers that we need to do better with, but that's the nature of building something for ag. We like to build it or use it until we break it. So people want to carry more. They want to do steeper grades or rougher soils or other things that are always beyond the initial consideration of the Amiga. Um, we work hard to make it better, but we also we back our product for what we built it for, and we hope that we can continue to be challenged by the customer. That's the best part. Having students go out and pitch our brand by building something really cool on top is a great addition to our brand imaging. So yeah, collaboration is everything. I don't think we would be where we are if somebody else didn't say, I need your help. So
Right. Yep. I think that is really awesome. So in this place where there are a lot of startups, what advice would you give to other ag tech startups trying to establish themselves in the industry, but also trying to even finding the idea?
sell something and
Mhm.
just put a price on something and get it in front of a person who has to say yes or no. And a no answer is a great answer for you to come away with because they put a value on what you did. And then they become your critical feedback loop of how to get something
Right.
done. So the faster you are to customer and to being in the real decision and learning cycle, because all of us are creative and all of us can learn to build out something really awesome. But it's getting the power of all those other people together with you right away. That's where you're going to win. And knowing how it affects they're paying for people to do work, how it's affecting their job every day is really important.
Yeah, great points. So, where can our listeners go to learn more about FarmNG?
As I said, we have a website, www.farm-ng.com. And please come visit us at the Tulare Farm Show, World Ag Expo, booth JK3. We'll be there all week. We do get around the country to a number of other shows, including the Great Lakes Expo, the Southeast Fruit and Vegetable Show. We'll be at shows throughout the year. Happy to meet up with you. Encourage you to consider having your university or even your high school look at getting an Amiga and having those students go and learn mechatronics on our platform. We build curriculums for it, and we feel like we can make a big difference for the future of ag. Not necessarily revolutionize, but get people more engaged and more passionate about it right up front. Know where your food comes from.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very good. And why are you still so passionate about this?
Still so. I yeah. I guess that's where I grew up. That's how we grew up. That's a great question, and I really like it. So I don't
Yeah.
think I'm going to be able to make a bigger impact in my life than engaging a whole bunch of really smart people in our food system and where our stuff grows. My grandfather was a person that I'll respect for my entire life. My father, my uncles, my neighbors, they were all farmers, and those were people that did it just as much out of love and passion as they did it for anything else. So I can't imagine a life that didn't include that level of passion itself.
That's a great answer. It's exactly why I love this industry.
It's great. Thank you,
So,
Chrissy.
yes, thank you so much for joining me. It was a great discussion, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon since I see you all over the country every couple months.
I appreciate it. We look forward to another opportunity. Thank you again.
Yes, and thanks to all who are listening. If you want to learn more about FarmNG, check out the links provided in the show notes, and don't forget to subscribe to What Color Is Your Tractor on Apple and Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or really wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day.